You don't know my name? What the fuck's wrong with you? Get off my bridge!
It's not his bridge, though, is it? It's Starfleet headquarters.
Get out of my headquarters! Get off my planet! It's all mine. I'm Picard. Hi, we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleetboy, where an informal conversation about Star Trek. We're talking about Star Trek Schisms, but I can't stop thinking about the new Captain Picard show, and I feel like that's the same with everyone who's watching this right now. Hi, Sean. Oh, your voice went goodbye. We can't hear you. Technical difficulty has occurred. Hello. No.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Okay, I'm back. Well, I think, for all intents and purposes, I think the Order City is bugged out now.
Let's hope YouTube is enough here. I feel like we're getting a good audio stream to record. I'll stop my recording as well.
Okay, I'm sorry about this.
Audience, you're getting a sneak.
I'm
No,
guilty. I'm guilty of being the terrible person.
This here so pro. So pro.
Oh my god.
Podcast audience, welcome back. We're catching up on our audios.
I can record starting from now. Does that not help?
Yeah, we could do that. If it freezes
I'm
again, though,
if it freezes again, we'll leave it be. But
we'll leave it. Don't even mention it. The show just goes on. Just you can tell me at the end. You can tell me at the end. There you
go. All right,
hold on. I'm recording now too, and just because we have to for continuity. This is like an episode of Drunk Space Nine already, with all the
everything's broken already.
Everything's already broken. All the behind the scenes action. So.
It's because we can't concentrate. We're so excited.
We are about Captain Picard. 3, 2, 1, clap. Did you notice in this episode how much Captain Picard was enjoying Data's poem while everyone else was bored? But he was like genuinely. I was watching him in his chair, and he was like,
"I think he's polite. I think he's a polite man."
No, he really enjoyed the part about the tail when he's like,
but he got up real quick though.
Well, yeah, and also. Was the girl sitting next to him his date, or just like a random?
Yes.
Did you think the same thing? Right? Did you have
it? This is.
Why did I think that?
This is the question that came to mind, and I asked my wife, and she was like, "No," and then I said, "I'll ask Sahel," and you.
Wow, okay. So we were on this.
This is it. Usually you disagree with me on these things, but it was his date. They got up at the same time. She was very close, and I mean they were shoulder to shoulder at some point.
Right, there was.
She was looking at him. Like, I don't know.
There was a vibe, right? Like there was totally a date vibe.
I know he doesn't date. Like he has this policy of not dating people on the ship, right? Isn't that something that he says at some point?
Right.
But she doesn't look like she's in uniform.
But he definitely betrays that because later he does date someone for a little while. He makes an exception for the piano lady, if you recall. Oh, you don't remember? It's actually a beautiful episode because it follows up a little bit on The Inner Light. I think of it as the sequel to The Inner Light, where he I'm excited. I'm definitely gonna have you on that.
Okay. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that's a date. Is it the same woman that then is part of the plot later on?
No, that was a different lady who was also at the poetry recital.
She was also at the poetry. Okay, so Data managed to. I will say one thing. I didn't like the frat party they had in Discovery, season 1. All right, with the plastic cups and the music. But that party does look more fun than Data's poetry recitals. I'll grant them that. It really looks like a more fun ship. I would be doing Middle Earth recreations in the holodeck all the time. That's what I would be doing. But no Data's poetry.
Wait, you're talking about Discovery? You said Voyager. You're talking about Discovery season. Yeah, because I was like, wait, when? Yeah, you meant Discovery. Or I heard Voyager.
Discovery season 1. You heard Voyager because you're watching Voyager.
Yes, it's true.
In any case, if I did say Voyager, I meant Discovery.
Right.
They have a like a frat party kind of thing.
It was a frat party. It was totally
I wasn't too much a fan of that as the episode came out, but I must say it does look more fun than this.
We should do an episode after I've done all my rewatches and all these things, like the best parties.
The best parties.
The best Star Trek parties.
Is it that one like party where everyone just like chit chats with this old dude on the surface of a planet? You know, where
which one was that?
Data learns how to small talk with this one guy.
That's right. Oh my gosh. No, I don't know. I haven't seen the Voyager parties yet. Are there parties on Voyager? I haven't seen one yet.
Are there parties on Voyager?
I feel like Neelix throws a good party, probably.
There's a wedding on Voyager at some point.
Oh. Who gets married? Oh, don't tell me. Spoilers.
I'm not telling you that.
All right.
I'm not telling you that, but there's it's an interesting episode actually. Anyway, there are things happening in the episode, believe it or not.
Of course, there's always things happening in the episodes.
Well, not in every episode of TNG. I feel like some episodes of TNG, nothing happens.
So are we doing this summary together? Because we totally skipped it, or do you want to do it, or shall I do it?
I don't know. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah,
I feel like it's a very short summary.
It is. Yes, I hope, and I hope you'll. You know, Father, he keeps them within like some ridiculous amount of time, like 2 minutes when he's. I meant to tell you,
he's a boss.
He's great. He's a boss.
Oh, there you go. He's
Father,
great.
Father,
I'm happy to see that you have some great guests.
You're also great. You're obviously one of the greatest guests. I can't call you the greatest, but you're one of the greatest guests.
One of the greatest. I'm just
Humbert
I'm one of the recurring guests.
Humbert would get mad if I said he wasn't the greatest guest.
I'm like a song on the radio that you hear so often. Like you hate it, but eventually you just get used to it.
Oh, you have such a complex number one. Didn't I assign you number one? Aren't you number?
I don't think so.
Well, you are now. Get some sleep, damn it. If you're late to work again, you're fired.
All right, so episode summary. I'll try to make this short. We focus primarily, like in the beginning, we focus on Riker, which is having essentially some bad nights. He's got a scruffy looking haircut, and he's having these bad nights and these bad dreams. Well, no, he's not having bad dreams. He's not getting enough rest during his nights. And then the story starts to kind of focus on various characters that are having these kind of intense emotional reactions to, I would say, random objects. Like Worf gets freaked out by scissors. Riker himself gets freaked out by like the con on the bridge.
Before I forget, can we talk about the screws on the con? Like, why do they need screws?
I don't know.
Like iPads don't have screws.
I don't know.
You didn't notice the screws. See,
I didn't notice the screws. Funny thing is, I did notice that there were screws in Discovery, the Spore Drive thing.
I can forgive Discovery because of the era it's supposed to be set in, even though everything's more advanced than TNG.
But then it makes more sense because it's like a constructed box. This is metal and what have you. This is the panel.
Right.
Maybe there shouldn't be screws.
It should have just been glass, I thought. It was really odd. But anyways, go on.
There you go. That makes the episode like a 0 now. Anyway, so multiple people, not just Riker. So there's Riker, Worf, Geordi, and dare I say some other lady that I don't know her name.
I have to look it. I'll look it up since you're giving me some.
So this other woman, she's kind of here to show you that it's not just the main officers that are having this issue. Like there are other people that are having this issue. They're getting freaked out. They're having emotional reactions to objects that they shouldn't be having emotional reactions to, and they're not getting enough sleep. And so there's a whole investigation going on, and they kind of figure out that they're being basically abducted during the night. And so they hatch a plan to see what's going on, and Riker is kind of administered some sort of chemical or whatever it is so that he doesn't completely go to sleep. When he's abducted, he wakes up, sees that these aliens are kind of running tests on him, and he manages to basically escape them and come back to the ship, and there you go. That's basically it.
And sorry, I was looking on IMDb. Did you mention the weird clicky creatures and the anomaly?
Well, those are the aliens. Those are the weird clicky aliens that we don't learn too much about, but they're essentially weird clicky aliens running tests on humans. They come from like a parallel universe or something.
They live in subspace, and I don't know if you thought about the similarity to how in our universe they're just little dots of light, but in their universe they look like something actually like those weird clicky crab aliens, which reminded me of the mycelial network. So
well, I mean, the mycelial network did remind us all of the what was it?
The quantum
realm. No, the God damn it, the place where species 8472 live.
Right, we also talked about that, but so there's always been this kind of it's interesting that there's this idea of like
there's all of these side parallel universes,
pocket universes, I guess you could call them, or whatever, because it's in subspace. Subspace is something we interact with in our space, so whatever. It's like I thought that was interesting. Angelina Fiordalisi plays Kaminer.
Okay, I purposefully left out
Kaminer.
Kaminer. How do you spell that?
Not like Kaminer, which so it's one letter off.
Okay.
Kaminer.
That's funny. I purposefully left out the iconic moment of the holographic chair, the holographic table, because I think that's worthy of a discussion in itself.
All right, cool. We could start with that.
It's a kind of unsolved mystery, plot kind of thing. It's different. TNG.
Did you grow up fearing the whole alien abduction? Did you ever get that as a kid? Were you?
I never feared the alien abduction plot, but
not even just like in real life. Were you ever? Get into those
not at all. I mean, I've always been one of those to be like, if I'm, because let's get real. Aliens won't probe your anus. That's not a real thing. People do this.
Some people might enjoy that show.
Well, some people might enjoy it. I highly doubt. We're talking about probing here. This isn't,
It's not pleasant.
No, I wouldn't. Anyway, aliens wouldn't do that.
It's like a doctor's visit.
Aliens wouldn't do that. Now that's
they might cut your arm, but they might cut your arm off and reattach it.
But that's fine. I mean, it's reattached.
No, but it's scary as F. Like, it's just scary. Like,
I like the idea of being abducted by an alien.
You want to be abducted? Because he's like, aliens, come get me.
Come get me, right? I'm a kid watching Star Trek. I like science fiction. I don't like Earth. I want to leave. Aliens come, right?
When I was a kid, I'm not freaked out by this episode anymore. But when I was a kid, when I first saw this, I was totally freaked out. I had nightmares.
Oh, really?
Afterwards, I totally I had
because the clicky aliens are pretty freaky thing.
Nightmarish.
Yeah,
but like I'm already a teenager, so I not much scared. I was watching Friday the 13th and like Chucky and all that. Like so, but these things freak me out because the idea is like. I think the episode's brilliant in that it plays on a real thing that happens. There's times where you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning and you're like, what like I got no sleep. Have you ever experienced that too, right? Like, and so like I was like, oh my god, like is that what happens when like it could totally be
I've never experienced this.
You've never experienced like where you're like
I have apparently I'm very lucky, but when I put my head on the pillow, I kind of fall asleep and then it's time travel. I wake up in the morning.
No, I'm the same way.
And
I'm the same way. But yeah, that's exactly. I usually feel rested, but there have been times where like the next morning I'm just like, gosh, that like it felt like I just fell asleep. Like I didn't get my full sleep, but I did. Like I got, I mean, like what Riker describes. He's like, what are you talking about? It's 700 hours. I just went to sleep. You know what I mean? Like I've had that experience, especially after a night of drinking. Back then I was
context, hasn't it?
But back then I hadn't been drinking, so it happened just like when your studies, school stuff, like kept you up.
It's okay. The Davidians in Star Trek. I think we talked about this in TNG. We talked about this not long ago with Time Zero. That freaked me out. That was a concept, but when I saw that for the first time, I was like, oh my god, it's true. Some other beings could be occupying the same space. Like some other being could be in my room technically, but in this other parallel dimension or whatever, and it might not be even a room. It might just be like the land. And so that kind of got my brain mixed up. And there's this episode in Voyager where they're being experimented on by like out of phase aliens. They kind of just out of phase, and they're running experiments on the crew, but you can't see them, and like you have a headache, and you start thinking like, why do I have this headache that won't go away? And you think, oh, it could be like an alien working on me, but then you can't really do anything about it because they're out of phase or whatever. And that got me freaked out. That scared me. I was like, oh my god, what if these creepy people are doing things to us and we don't even know?
Right. No, it's true.
Every time you're sick or every time you're hurt, it's because someone's just toying with you. It'd be horrible.
Right. I can't say that I've ever experienced any memories or false memories of an alien abduction, but the idea of it definitely freaks me out. So this episode
I'm hype about abductions.
I love
it. Me, sir.
I'm ready to be probed. Sorry, you set it up.
I did not say that.
You set it up. You set it up. I had to go there. Probe.
Hashtag so probe.
I hope your probe is spiky.
Oh, there you go. There you go with the spiky probes again.
I'm with spiky probes. You were something else spiky. All right, I
hope people listen to all of these episodes to get the context and this continuity.
Audience, this is a chance for you to go back and rewatch some of our most exciting episodes of Starfleetboy.
Oh, most exciting. What defines the most exciting?
but I guess we started talking about this because of the iconic table scene, and I jumped ahead. But what did you mean to say about that? Like, what was so cool about that scene for you?
It's not cool. It's kind of like, this is the first kind of Star Trek meme that isn't like tea Earl Grey hot, right? This is the first Star Trek meme. They're like, it was a table, so there's a wooden table that appears. So like, it was shorter, it goes shorter. It was inclined, it's inclined, and then he goes, no, it's middle or metallic, and then it becomes this whole contraption all of a sudden. And the computer just assumes it's this, right?
The computer's like, stop wasting my time. You guys
were tortured, clearly.
The computer's like, I actually documented you being abducted, so I know, I know you left the
computer's an ass. Because the computer then, Geordi's all like, I need a light. He's like, specify the lighting, and the computer gets so picky about the light, where it just designed this entire torture table. I mean,
it assumed a torture table, but it didn't. It couldn't assume the lights.
No. And then it can't make the pincers right. Like Worf has to correct it like 3 or 4 times just for the scissors. I mean,
I like that the scissors that it first puts on, it is effing with them, because the scissors that it first puts on are Mott's scissors. It's the same scissors that Mott's holding.
It's just back to first. The computer's like, those ones, that'll do. Whatever.
This will scare you.
Ooh. So the computer saw Worf get freaked out by that in the barbers. So he's like, oh, just throw those up, that'll be fine.
One assumes the computer's like always watching, right? It's just waiting for a command. So
imagine you're like taking your sonic shower, and then all of a sudden you hear the computer's voice like, "Is it warm enough?" It's like, yes, thank you. You don't want that,
especially in that creepy tone. Is it warm enough? Just, oh boy.
That's what I mean by iconic scene, because it's so outlandish.
It is outlandish. It is a little presumptuous to go from a wooden.
That being said, I love it when they use the hologram, like the holodeck, for these kind of stuff.
That way. Right.
There's this episode where Geordi goes invisible, and so they're using the holodeck to recreate the shadows and stuff, and that was really great. And I like this as well. Like they all have this issue. They all regroup and try to figure out like what this memory is that they have, and they use the holodeck for that, and it's great.
It is pretty great. That is so it's a great scene for many reasons. But
it is, I love it. Classic TNG. It's very corny. I like it.
Going back to the beginning of the episode, during the poetry scene, I meant to tell you something really odd. So I watched the episode this morning when I got up, and during the poetry scene, my cat Arthur, who's asleep off camera right now, you can't really. Let me see if I can show you my messy room and my cat. There he is.
Arthur.
But anyways, now you saw how messy my room is today. But
only one person will get that reference.
Is it Merlin? Were you doing
Monty Python Holy Grail?
Oh, yeah, it is. I thought you were doing the old man from the show Merlin. Sorry.
No.
I have to watch Holy Grail again. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. But anyways, in that scene, Arthur came out, sat in front of the TV, which he never does. He like sprawled, like just relaxing, watched the whole scene when Data read the poem. And then after it was done, he got up and went up on his tree. And I was like, he knew, like, Data wrote the perfect cat poem. Like he regarded the poem. He took a moment to regard the poem, and
then the only one.
It was pretty well. And my cat looks like Spot, so it was that extra.
Okay,
he's orange. He's an orange cat.
There you go. The TNG writers accomplished an incredible feat. They wrote a poem for cats,
which works.
It soothes the cat. Did it soothe him, or did he get like angry and then go scratch?
No, I think it felt like he was regarding it as if someone were reading a poem about you. You know, like if someone
he felt concerned or
like he was just And then I was like, Jordy, that's bullshit. Like that poem wasn't directed at you. It was directed
hashtag representation.
It's true. When that was Jordy's been really mean. We talked about this. He was mean you weren't on the Scotty episode, but he was kind of mean to Scotty, and I feel like he was mean to Data in this episode when he's just like, I didn't really feel anything. Like you definitely felt like it was.
Oh, you're okay. You're like you're taking the emotion from Relics and you're using it on this episode. I agree that he's kind of like a young meanie in Relics, but in this episode I think that it's important. He has this kind of relationship where he's very honest to Data, and he has to kind of explain to him that like your poetry on a technical level, like everything works on a technical level. It's just that there's no soul to it. Basically, is what he's just trying to tell him. There's no emotion to all of it.
I disagree. I think my cat and I disagree with Jordy. We're gonna.
Well, I'll tell you what. I disagree as well with Jordy because he says something along. What does he say exactly? He says something that I find is kind of harsh to say to Data. He says it's not what you say, it's the way you said it, or something. But it's kind of mean because like Data's talking about something that's very dear to him. He's talking about his cat. Like it is like what he's saying is important to him. It's not because you don't care about his cat that because like Jordy doesn't like his cat anyway. He gets attacked by it or something.
Yeah, maybe Spot doesn't like Jordy. Another thing I really liked was when Riker comes to work late. Everyone's kind of like takes note of it, and he just like straight up just apologizes, and then they move on, which I think is really wonderful because in most jobs, if that happened, your employer makes like a huge deal of it, and it's like you might like in this case it felt more like how it should be, which is like Riker's taking responsibility for his own actions. He's apologizing for being late. He even fesses up and says, I overslept. Like it was like a thing, like it wasn't a stigma behind it, and I think that's really wonderful. I hope that I often look at TNG as like a template. If I ever had a business, like if I ever created a workplace, I would run it very similar to TNG in terms of like accountability and things like that. And so that was like a moment that I took note of.
I've had like multiple employers, and some of them were good about this, some of them were terrible, especially considering as a pastry chef we get up at whatever hour. Like I start at midnight at the moment, but the current employer that I have he's pretty good with it. Like if you get up late, or if you arrive late to work, it's fine. Of course, like if you arrive an hour late or something, then you'll have to like do an hour. like
an extra hour, right?
An extra hour that day, like because you have to do your 40 hours a week, whatever it is that you're doing.
They were exploring the Armagosa diaspora, which later on in Generations, the sun that blows up is the Armagosa star.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Amazing. Canon connections. I noticed twice in this episode that there was like basically behind the scenes filming equipment in the shot. Yeah.
Wow, where did you see that?
Like right in the beginning, right in the beginning when Riker's looking in the mirror.
Like the mic or something?
It's not the mic, but it's like a square black thing that clearly isn't part of the set.
Oh wow!
And then at the very end, where the kind of like the speck of light flies out the ship, they have this high bird's eye view of the cargo bay. There's like the foot of a tripod or something in the set as well.
Well, but not an in-universe tripod, because they have tripods. It was like
it's like, okay, so maybe, but that one it feels like a production thing. It feels black and
like if you because theirs are like metallic and like they have the little design.
It's not blue or yellow or any of those kind of popish colors that they have. It doesn't feel plastic and light. But
I also noticed this a lot, but did you notice that Riker had a regular pillowcase on his future pillow, on his shiny future pillow?
Okay.
So that was the first time I ever seen, because they usually just have the shiny future pillow and you're like, okay, but he had like a regular like linen pillowcase on top of his shiny future pillow. He's like, I can't stand it.
I can't stand the shine.
I can't sleep. Aunt Adele's, did you notice Aunt Adele's thing came up? Captain Picard's Aunt Adele's what is it, the toddy or whatever that the recipe for, it's a milk toddy, that's what it was. And that's what he's drinking, and he kind of shakes his head before that scene where Geordi comes in.
Okay, so we've established that Picard has a date in this episode, right?
Yeah, so I think she's a visitor.
This has shocked me, but she's not part of the crew.
I don't think, no, she could be off duty, but I don't think she's part of the crew. I mean, we can't really honestly say she's a date because they don't actually mention it in the episode.
No, but
and I feel like the crew would make a big deal if it were a date. Like they would, like, especially like Troy.
Yeah, maybe it's a secret date.
Like, oh hi, like could be. It could also be Patrick Stewart's real life date at the time, and he's like,
oh yeah,
hey, tell you what, you could be on an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Let me see if IMDb has her.
We're filming this poetry shot. It's amazing. Poetry scene.
There's no actor that I can see, and there's no reference to anyone here. In fact,
I love the Riker clap, like when he gets woken up by Deanna Troi, and then he claps, and it's not the end of the poem.
It's not the end of the poem.
It's comedy, and it works.
So there were like a couple of things going on in this episode. There was obviously Data trying to be, more human plot, which was a small part of it. There was the mystery of the spatial anomaly that had to do with Geordi activating like better sensors. His sensors penetrated too far into subspace, and that's how they got noticed by those subspace aliens. And then there was the abduction theme. And I think everything just, like, I don't have any real complaints about this episode, to be honest.
The pacing is a little off, maybe. It feels pretty slow, but I think it's just their way of setting up like the intrigue or the mystery of it all.
Yeah, I mean, I found myself like actually just like into it. Like I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I remembered like what was gonna happen, but it was good to kind of see it again.
They leave you on a cliffhanger, right? Because Riker's basically like, maybe we'll hear of these. No, he says something along the lines of, whatever the case, they're not peaceful. This is clearly an attack or something.
Someone remarks that they might be exploring the galaxy just like we are, and Riker's like, it
feels more like
they determined that what the aliens might have been trying to do, though, which is interesting, is the reason they were studying humans was to be able to solidify themselves in our dimension. Now, that being said, like, other than the one, so there was the one, everyone gets returned back safely, more or less, right? But there was the one crewman whose blood was turning into polymer, right? Now,
what was that?
Yeah. Now I have to say, though, the difference in that scene was they had turned on, and they didn't say anything about it in the episode, but they had turned on the shields at that point, and it could be that the shields affected the
well, they were able to kidnap, like, they were able to abduct Riker without any like problem, even if the shields were already up.
They might have.
I feel like they're a very advanced race, right?
Right. They may have compensated for it after. Like, they might have been like, "Oh shit, we sent that guy back, and his blood turned to polymer," and they're like, "Oh, it's because they turned."
Not sent back after they took Riker?
No. Well,
no. It was
he was the only one who was sent back once they raised the shields. That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe, and like, they reattach Riker's arms, and if it weren't for the fatigue and all that, like, I don't think anyone would have ever noticed. Maybe they were genuinely like, that was the way that they were trying to figure out how to. They were really genuinely trying to figure out how to constitute themselves into our universe, and maybe they didn't know that.
I feel like these people are unlucky. Like, why do you like? They're doing this to the Enterprise, right? The flagship of the Federation. The geniuses. They've got the most brilliant minds of the entire Federation of Starfleet on this ship. They're gonna figure something out. Like, if you do this to just like a rando Klingon vessel, or just like whatever Bolian freighter, I feel like it would work better. People would just get grumpy and tired, and and
it would have. And then they would have figured out how to come into.
And then they would have figured out how to come. Like, maybe they would have invaded, which wouldn't have been cool. But maybe they were just trying to figure out how to like come into our plane of existence, basically.
It is interesting, isn't it, to say that like the Enterprise is definitively the best ship in Starfleet, because it is. Like, I mean, like, it's known
at that
point within the of course.
There's other Galaxy class ships.
The Discovery is the best ship in Starfleet.
There are other Galaxy class.
No, they even say the Enterprise is the best.
But
Discovery.
This one's the flagship.
Right.
I think that these are all the best officers, and like, they make a point of saying that, if you want to be on this ship,
Is there only one flagship? I mean, I feel like with the size of the fleet, there might actually be other flagships that represent the Federation.
The point of a flagship is to have one, isn't it? It's like the main thing.
It's a really good military experts in our audience. If you have any insight on flagships, because we don't. I have a weird feeling you can have more than one flagship, but it is interesting.
I suppose it depends on how many flags you have.
It's because Geordi's innovating the sensors that this whole thing happens anyway. So yeah, it's true that, like, it's in the beginning. They established that his sensors did something in subspace that no sensors were doing. They were like penetrating deeper into subspace. His scanners.
Okay.
So
that he opened
they speculate. No, well, he speculates he speculates that like the same way that we were able to put the little homing device on Riker and hone in onto what he described subspace as a honeycomb, like that they could exist in any number of it's a multiverse in and of itself. And then they say that, like, the next time Riker goes through, this homing beacon will help us figure out which honeycomb they're in, right? So I imagine our space is like the same to these guys, and whatever Geordi's sensors were doing, they were able to hone in to our honeycomb, if you will, in the universe. And so they actually tell at the end of the episode that they make mention that, we're going to make sure no one uses these modifications, because it actually pinpoints your place in it, which is just another really far out idea that like like you could be found because of like a frequency. Nope. You're furiously typing.
That's the. I'm not furiously typing. I'm just typing. Come on.
I have to make it dramatic.
I think that what you're saying, the frequency thing, is basically the same thing that's been established for the mirror universe. Like everything that comes from the mirror universe has a different whatever it is, a different quantum signature or whatever they call it.
Right.
And so I think that like when we're talking about parallel universes and different, all of these different kind of dimensions or whatever it is that exist in Star Trek, because there's however many, fluidic space, that's what we were looking for before.
Right, and these guys are Solanogen based, which I don't know what that means. I'll look it up while you finish your point.
I don't know. Anyway, I think that everything, like every different pocket universe or every different dimension or whatever, has its own signature. And I think that once, in 5,000 years or 10,000 years after TNG, if humans have become so advanced, or the Federation has become so advanced, they probably will be able to figure out who comes from where, or what object comes from where immediately, like just with a scan, right?
Right.
Okay. Did you when we went into the barbers, was it Mott? Is he called?
Yes.
He's essentially telling a joke to that other barber,
who was very attractive.
Okay, well, he maybe, but did you notice that he didn't smile at all? Like, he didn't even crack the smallest smile. He just stood there. Even like if someone that I'm kind of acquainted, with or just working with tells me a joke and it's not funny, I will at least try to like fake a small.
Well, you're a polite person.
That guy,
maybe
no, he didn't care. No,
but maybe he's an alien. He could be an alien. He could be another humanoid.
You think?
And he could be.
He's like a betazoid. He's listened to the joke in advance in his mind, and he's like, "This. I know the ending."
That's exactly what it is. Would it be hilarious if there were all these betazoids on the ship and we only know about Counselor Troy?
Yeah.
it's like only Counselor Troy is the one that they focus on.
But then there's just empathic, whereas all the others would be like telepathic. So they actually know what's going on, but she only gets like
feeling. She only gets a vibe, yeah. And then they're like, "Why does she get that job?" Why does she what sucks? I have a psychology degree.
They're all frustrated and mad, but they all end up like being sent to her to get treated.
They never talk, like, cause she can do the telepathy with other beta Zeds.
They probably enhance her powers.
Betazoids?
Betazoids from
Betazoids.
I think. Yeah, that's it.
And so she can do that. So a session with them must be really funny because they're just probably sit there and like.
Yeah, but she doesn't like speaking like that. Or no, she doesn't like speaking like that in the presence of humans, I think.
Of others, which is very proper. I think that's a proper thing.
It is. Very polite.
What is that? Is that like a when you're speaking French and there's not a French speaker around, do you find it awkward or do you switch to English? Do you continue in French or do you switch to English?
No, we speak in English. Like when we had Gary over, we would always speak in English. And then sometimes, you can't be held responsible for. Sometimes you just you spit out a sentence or a word in French, and like it comes out naturally. But usually I usually try to speak the language of like, I'm gonna say the highest proportion of people. Like,
right.
If most people are French, I'll speak French. If most people are English, I'll speak English.
That's fair. I have a question for you, since we're seamlessly talking about all the new leaks from the Picard series as well as this episode, Schisms. What's your hot take on the uniforms? I know you're gonna do a video, but let's get a scoop here on Starfleet.
My hot take on the uniforms. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I feel
like, people are saying that, like, why have they gone backwards in time to the kind of like the Voyager uniforms or whatever? I don't feel that way at all. I feel like they've kind of looked at all of the Star Trek uniforms that have existed and all of the iterations, and they've kind of done their own take. What makes me happy is that they've got the 3 colors, and I don't know how Starfleet you can get with that. I see that Kitwolski here, Nick, is saying that people on his channel are kind of pissed off about the quality, or I don't know. They don't look bad to me. They look good.
I think people have to remember that, like, when you see it in a photo, it's different from how it shows up on film.
Oh, absolutely.
Often,
You look at the Avengers behind the scenes photos; they all look crap.
It all looks crap because I think that, like, there's some toning and color correction and all that. Like, so you won't see wrinkles probably in the final versions because the blacks will be very black, and stuff like that. Whereas in the ones we're seeing them, with no processing whatsoever.
But then I mean, like, I'm never one to I've never been one to badmouth people that have complaints about Discovery, because I feel like a lot of the complaints that one can have for Discovery can be pretty legitimate. Like, all of a sudden you have these blue uniforms which kind of work in continuity with Enterprise, but they all of a sudden decided to go with the gold, bronze, and silver, and that was kind of a weird take. Now, you can like it, you can not like it. You can always make it fit in continuity. You can always make it fit, but it was just a weird choice, and so I was never one to complain about people that didn't really appreciate that, right?
Right.
This time I think it's quite different. I mean, these uniforms are pretty much as Star Trek as you can get. Yeah, they're like the uniforms that we've never seen before, but I mean, the First Contact uniforms, the ones that we later see in Deep Space Nine, they were like way different, and I don't think anyone complained about them. Not to mention the uniforms in this, like the original series movies, like the Wrath of Khan uniforms.
These uniforms make sense to me. Like, they're a little bit like, it's an interesting future. I think every uniform tells you something about the era or like the time period, and like these are like, they seem like more casual. I don't know, in a way, but I really like I like the long V-neck, the high collar, but the collars are like kind of loose. They're not like super stiff. I don't know. It's interesting.
Take away the Dominion threat, and like we're getting away from the Borg threat.
Romulus is gone.
Romulus is gone, basically, and so I'm assuming that Romulus are basically asking for help or something at this point. You're kind of in a situation where you don't need the gray, maybe more serious, or like, I don't know if you want to call them military uniforms, but they felt very, they were kind of a darker uniform, and you might want to go back to this traditional color. And then Voyager was always uniforms that I loved, so these ones remind me of those. I like them.
Bringing it back to this episode, I thought it was interesting in the scene where there's there's like a string of an explosion, an EPS conduit explosion in the cargo bay, and a whole team of them are going to the cargo bay. There was the one security officer who was wearing an older uniform, and I thought that was interesting that they don't always switch. Did you notice that guy?
I noticed that one. Okay, so this is because for extras they probably just give them old like uniforms that fit them.
Right, but it was weird because it had the high collar, but it had the front seam, and it was tight, like in the first few seasons, which I know they're probably trying to show off his muscles, but regardless, I thought
they may have just found like they went back and looked for all the props and like all the costumes. Like, this one is the one that fits you, so
yeah,
put it on. But then it makes sense that there's a transition period. Like,
well, but I feel like it's been transitioning for 2 seasons already, because season 6 uniforms, haven't we had them for like a couple seasons? If I'm not mistaken.
I say that it's logical that there should be a transition period, but then when you think about it, shouldn't just every ship in the fleet get received orders and specifications, and then it's just like, go to the holiday, go to the
it's that easy. I mean, the
replicators and replicate.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's that easy.
Voyager, at some point, they get in contact with, they start, getting in contact with the Federation and Starfleet and what have you. And I feel like once those communiques become more regular, Starfleet should just send over, like, these are the uniforms we're wearing now, by the way.
In fact, it's almost probably automatic. It makes sense that it's almost automatic. Like, the computer just starts downloading packets of information, and one of the things is probably uniform protocols. So that makes sense too.
And I feel like
there's no excuse for having an old uniform in my
opinion. Really isn't.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. We see the Discovery wearing different uniforms from the Enterprise. You know,
They do say though that the Pike is like, well, we got the new uniforms.
Yeah.
So maybe they haven't rolled them out yet, and maybe science vessels don't get them.
Maybe. I think maybe it's all matter synthesis as well. Back in the day, it wasn't that much. It wasn't as like replicated, so maybe it wasn't as easy to replicate all of these new uniforms all the time. But
I think it's weird that the Picard show uniforms do have the same shoulder pad action going on as the Discovery uniforms do. Everyone's got very square shoulders on
very Romulan.
Every Romulan has very square shoulders, which is interesting. Okay, cool. So anything else about the episode before we move on? Because I have a lot of other questions for you.
Not really. That was it.
So
yeah, but they are walking. Yeah. Okay. So I did notice that like there's a fire, there's a containment breach, there's maybe people wounded in the cargo bay, and everyone's just calmly walking over there. They don't beam over there. They don't run over there.
There was a faster clip, but you're absolutely right. Like, why aren't they running?
Twaddle along.
Why aren't they transporting site to site, transporting directly there? That would have been even.
You could have said, okay, maybe they can't site to site transport because whatever
interference, right?
There's an interference. There's a fire, whatever. Okay, but at least run, right? Don't just casually stroll over to the problem. Because then, like, Worf's just taking it easy, and then there's Crusher behind.
That's a really good.
She's all like, really yeah, whatever.
That's a great call out. That's a really
You're all like, this is the 24th century. If someone's wounded, we can fix them. We don't,
Dr. Crusher couldn't save Ensign, whatever, Lieutenant, whatever, with the polymer blood, though.
She couldn't.
She couldn't do it. She couldn't turn his blood back to blood.
She couldn't turn his blood back to blood. But what she could have done, however, is like breach every protocol in Starfleet and maybe like do an autopsy, even though it was culturally inappropriate.
That guy was an asshole. He deserved it. That guy was a total jerk. I think she had a. That guy was a dweeb.
Is that how justice works now? Is that how?
No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
It's not because you're an asshole that we're allowed to
smack
you autopsy.
Assholes are protected under the law, the same as everyone.
Yeah.
Which is why Twitter has a problem.
How do you feel about the Game of Thrones petition?
I think it's outrageous. Personally, I just think it's an interesting time we live in humanity in general, because there's all these things that that you never would have thought of before in the history of at least in my 41 years. If a TV show ended and I didn't like it, I just moved on. It's just like, I just carried on. But I would never have thought about
say it was a shit ending, and then you move on, right?
And then you move on. It's like you just keep going, right? But I never, in my wildest imagination, and it's not the first time. I could have sworn there was another redo petition.
I think that there was a petition for Solo to be like removed. Oh no, it was the Last Jedi redo. I think it was.
Oh yeah, so that was the first time I remember hearing.
Okay, so this wasn't a read. This was different. This was like a petition or an Indiegogo or something. Like people wanted enough money to like do the movie themselves, like basically do stuff. It's gotten to a point where fans are like, "We'll do this ourselves.
We'll take care of it. You don't know what you're doing." It's like, I think it's like I kind of wish that these people who are kind of dissatisfied with the creative process, I'm not saying you can't hate something or dislike something. That's fine. But like, I think there's this part of us where you think like, oh, I could do a better job, but you've never, a lot of these people who are saying this have never had a job in like film or writing. And it's not to say that you can't be a savant and excel.
I'm very much guilty of this, because I'm the first person to say, well, that was a shit episode. It was written like terribly. But
yeah, but you don't go.
That's why I'm trying to write scripts,
right?
currently.
And you're so okay. Maybe it's because you're my friend, but I think you're being a little too hard on yourself, and it's nice that you put yourself up on the cross there for a second. But I've never seen you saying things like, "Oh, I can do a better job." You're critical, but you don't say like I could do a better job. You're saying I get that they do. You do give a lot of credit to the people who are working hard. You're just still saying, well, it's still, to me, it was crap, and that's okay. That's as far as. But I think it's just too far for me personally. It's too far to go into these like petitions and like, I don't know. It's just too much. I think
sometimes things
it's
just
a little
don't come
much.
together as well. Like sometimes you'll have great writers and great actors, and then they make a movie, and then just the creative vision somewhere falls apart, and somehow
I think
the idea falls flat, right?
Well, and I think we blame the writers so much when it's really, honestly, I think the director should shoulder the burden of whether it's crap or not, because you can rewrite bad writing. You can be like,
okay,
I
will now flip and say I disagree. I think writing is often blamed because it is the main problem. Like the directing, specifically for the last season of Game of Thrones, episode 3 aside, the directing is spot on. I mean, the most recent episode that we had, episode 5, is very well directed. Like the whole everything that's going, and I'm not going to spoil things because this is like a TNG discussion. Everything that's going on is very well directed, and I think it's very well acted, and I think that all of the shots were beautiful. It's just that sometimes you question the need for a certain shot, or you question how a certain shot was written.
I think that the director can also look at a script and especially if they're into that maybe that's the problem, is that maybe
when you're doing a movie, you can do that because you're the director, you're like the boss of it all. But when you're a director on a TV show, I feel like you're just a hired.
Well, okay, then the showrunner on a TV show, then the showrunner, I think.
But then it's the showrunner. Right? But then this is the thing: Game of Thrones currently, the two showrunners are the two writers.
Right. So in this case, do they? Great Game of Thrones doesn't have a writers room. They write the scripts, just the two of them, and that's it. They don't have like a team of writers like working on these things to like flesh them out or anything like that.
From what I gather, these two people were writing Game of Thrones based on the books before, so they were using the books to write the scripts. They were essentially writing they were screenwriting the books, basically.
Right. Okay.
But they were. But I mean, they were consulting Martin, etc., etc. And now they've got no more books to kind of lean on, and so they're like doing their own thing. Based on things that Martin have told them, of course.
Right. Of course. I mean, I would say that like, I guess there's a lot of things at play. Also, like. I understand from actors that like in modern TV, they're often not given the whole script. They're just given their part and expected to like make it work. Like they rely on the director or whoever to like fill in the gaps for them because there's
outrageous
so see behind all these things.
It's outrageous that anyone would go and attack any of the actors like.
No, I'm just saying like modern filmmaking, or because I heard this was true about Avengers too. It's like they only were given their little bits. Like Spider-Man was only given his little bits, maybe a little bit of extra material, but like to keep the whole plot secret. And even in Game of Thrones, there's rumors that they filmed alternate scenes to throw off the leakers or whatever, to make them think that the show is going to go a certain way when it actually was going another way. I don't know how much of that is true, but all I can say is that like I just think it's like, yes, the writers are the start of it, but I think there's so much that could like change the word on the page. And I learned that because when you're watching the Deep Space Nine documentary, for example, and they give us a glimpse on how the writers' room worked, when they were coming up with the pitch,
breaking the story
breaking the story and stuff like that. All of that sounds really great. Like when they're talking about it, and if it doesn't end up being that way, like what happened, you got to wonder like what goes on, so there, I don't know. I think, but going back to the original point, I think that like, if you don't like it, it's fine. That's great. There's a lot of stuff I don't like, but I don't know about these like, petitions to redo.
One thing the petition to redo the goal of the petition, which is to like redo the season, that will never happen. No one will ever do
Right.
that. But I do think it's interesting that they're basically a million now.
Had a million
signatures, and that at some point, I'm wondering if HBO are going to have to address this, because like it's now become like a basically it's public shaming of like HBO's product.
Right.
And so like, does HBO have to address this?
What's the audience?
Do the directors have to kind of,
I mean,
like showrunners, do they have to come up to this, or like,
I've never
or is it
heard
just
of,
like online angry people?
I mean,
This is the first time, right?
These are all firsts.
This
like
is
this is all
groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking. Well, I mean, but I have to say, like, being involved in Star Trek, it was pretty extraordinary to see that the kind of like trending opinions or critiques of Discovery made a difference and made an effect on season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. Like, you have to admit, there's a real power to it. You know what I mean? So who knows? Maybe this will be the first time in history, if they can get up to a certain number of signatures, where a network actually goes, well, you know what? You asked for it. We're going to film a whole different ending, you know? But like, then it gets to this point of like, if you don't like a book, like Harry Potter was read by millions and millions of people. If they didn't like the ending, imagine if J.K. Rowling was forced to rewrite her ending. Like, at what point are you doing artwork that means something to you personally, and at what point are you doing a public service?
Okay, so now I'm gonna
do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna tie this back in. I'm gonna tie this back into Star Trek, and I'm gonna challenge something that you said a few weeks ago.
All right. Ooh.
This is I was trying to get to this. Believe it or not,
you were setting me up.
I was setting you up, and you've fallen into my trap. You've said what I wanted you to say.
Ooh, here we go. Okay.
You think that like it's a slippery slope to like redo a season? Essentially, you say like, to redo a season would be like unprecedented, but it would like, is it a good thing to take away season 8 of Game of Thrones, say this doesn't exist anymore, and then redo it anew?
I guess what I'm saying is,
it takes away from the creative, like the original creative vision. Is it really
right? Like, at what point is it like, at what point are you an artist or a public servant? Like, at what point are you like, is my argument. Like,
how do you compare that to redoing all of the visuals of, say, the original series
to totally different. I'm glad
to fit the standards of, say, Discovery or a modern TV show?
I'm really glad you brought that up.
I feel like it's the same thing. I feel like the whole appeal, or like, that's, if you disagree, or you did like, you're not a fan of the original series visuals, that's how it was, that's how it is. And
to first of all, to start, I love the original series visuals. I love them.
Yeah.
Like, okay. You're absolutely right. But it's not, I don't think it's the same point, because we're not just talking about redoing an element that is bound by constraints of the time period. Like, what the people who were creating Star Trek, if they had our technology, they would have totally done it with CGI. They would, they did the best they could. Visual effects are always the best they can be with the means at hand. Whereas the story and the choices you make about characters and the way you choose to like end a character's storyline, that I think is very different, in the sense that it's personal. It's like, these are your characters, these are your storylines, so it should be how you want it to be. Whereas a visual artist, I can't imagine any visual artist who would say, oh yeah, if you gave me the chance to like redo my effects with modern technology, I would do it. I think that's the distinction. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, those artists are working with like limited resources, whereas a storyteller has they're just like, they don't have that limit. So does that satisfy you?
It's like, it's an opinion. I just wanted to hear what I just wanted to hear your
thoughts. Does that
then
satisfy you? It's not the same thing.
I don't know. It's not. You think it's not the same thing? I think it's comparable, though. I would put it in the same kind of category.
No, I think you were good. I love that you like. First of all, I love that you remembered that I even said that. And then you were like, what a tangled web we.
Just for nothing.
That was very Lannister of you. It's very good stuff. I turn it to the audience.
I feel like the
what the
original.
audience would think.
I feel like the original effects saved like the original series. I think the original effects, they're part of kind of the charm of the show, and I think that say, how should I put this? It's very interesting because I think that if no Star Trek had ever existed, and the original series came out today, but with like amazing kind of like visuals that are like on par with Discovery, I don't think it would have that much of an impact as a show. I think that it would like kind of be like, because everything has good visual effects now, and so it wouldn't really matter. Whereas back in the day, the visual
like
effects were like very.
Season 1 of Discovery, I would argue, had better budget than, let's say, The Expanse. I can't imagine, because The Expanse is a sci-fi show, and
But The Expanse has better like visual effects,
even because of the details of the way they do. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like the lighting, those things. So you could have like the better budget, which Discovery definitely had, and I thought season 1's visuals were mostly crap. Like, like, so it's like season 2 way better.
The Mycelial Network, when it's like when it's like CG integrated into a scene, that's fine. But when it's like full CG and the only thing that you have like is basically a physical actor, yeah, I saw that.
He just tweeted this, and I think it's the most brilliant thing ever in the whole world.
There's also Star Trek Dots with O'Brien.
This is the best one though. And what's nice is it really annoyed me that the logo's not centered in Picard.
Now it is.
It is, because you have the extra Star Trek Picardo.
I would watch that. I would watch anything. Come on, anything that has the word Star Trek in it, I'd just watch it.
Yeah, and we're suckers for all these nostalgia trips, anyways. But
okay, so we've talked about everything. We've talked about the episode quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, we purposely said we're moving on to the segment of the show now where we're talking about there's a lot going on in Star Trek.
I'm satisfied with my Game of Thrones original series tie in there.
That was very good. I'm satisfied with that question too, because it did challenge me in a good way. Because at first I was like, oh crap, what did I do?
Oh my god.
Oh crap. What did Starfleetboy say now?
Oh my god. I'm calling you out, sir.
Deep Space Nine doc is, I guess, I did a Drunk Space Nine after the film, after the documentary with Humbert and Emma, and I know we've talked about it offline, but I'd love to hear. I have a question for you, which is, what was your favorite part of the documentary?
My favorite part of the documentary?
Mm-hmm.
Like, as in, like my favorite segment, or just my favorite specific moment?
I guess, what did you enjoy the most? This is a better question. What did you enjoy about the documentary the most?
I don't know. I enjoyed all of it. I enjoyed all of it. I think I suppose seeing all of these people that like worked on the show, and yes, the writers, but a lot of like mainly the cast, because you see them on screen in character all the time, and just to have them as like kind of natural and be themselves and talk to you, it was real nice. I like, they all look like fantastic people. The two things that like striked me the most were I forget his name. I'm sorry, the actor who played Nog.
Aaron Eisenberg.
Okay, he
I only know
almost brought me to tears.
He was great, yeah.
He like I got very emotional when he was talking about the veterans, and all of that, and that almost brought me to tears. So he was the emotional part of it, and the actor, I should know his name. Inconceivable. The actor who plays the Grand Nagus.
What's his name? He was very special. I thought it was amazing that he looks the same as he did in Princess Bride and hasn't aged at all, it seems. Something Wallace Shawn. I just remembered his name. It's Wallace Shawn.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. He's currently in Young Sheldon, the spin-off for The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, nice.
and I love him. He's an amazing actor, and his story about him falling asleep on set just cracked me up so much. I was loving that. I was like, this is amazing. And
I thought, oh my gosh, Mark Alemo. I was not expecting him to look as the way he does. At all. I was like, he's much older than I imagined. Older looking, I should say.
I found the whole thing about like how they didn't address homosexuality enough in their opinion in Deep Space Nine, or they could have gone further. I found it I think emotional. I don't know. It was kind of like you could see that
and not just homosexuality, but
Ira was kind of disappointed there. He was
and not just homosexuality, but actually just gender identity or just sexual identity in general, because there's a lot of different things they could have tackled.
Yeah, I think that's what they put. They put sexual identity in as or sexual orientation. No, identity is what they use.
Identity, right?
And yeah, he did. He feels like he seemed genuinely disappointed that he didn't go further into those kind of like that storytelling. We all know Garrick is bi. Like we didn't need.
Well, we all assumed it, but it's nice.
Well, yeah, it's okay. So it's nice to have it like being said, but then I think that it's just everyone knew that he was hitting on Bashir. That was like, of course, come on.
And then they have a bromance, which is delightful.
They have a bromance. But he was like, so he was basically friend zoned, Garrick.
Yeah, he was totally friends.
So not only was he sent off, like he wasn't allowed to live on Cardassia, but he was also friend zoned by the doctor on the station. So he had very sad nights alone with all his.
I feel like Garrick was having a lot of fun when we didn't see him on camera. I feel like he could. Yeah, I think he could hold his own. He's got game.
He does.
All his eggs were not in the doctor's basket. Is all I gotta say. All his eggs. He's a reptile. Just kidding. Sorry.
It's very true. Do Cardassians lay eggs?
They're not really reptiles, though, right? Because didn't they establish that they're like similar to Bajor, or they're like
cold-blooded?
Oh, are they?
They need heat because the station's always too cold for him.
Oh yeah. Huh. We'll have to explore that as we go deeper into the wormhole on Drunk Space Nine. If we were talking about probes in this episode, come on. So I did you take part in the Drunk Space Nine make your Kobayashi Maru choice poll? Did you see that?
What was that?
I did a poll on Drunk Space Nine that said, make your Kobayashi Maru choice. If you could only have one, which would it be? Would it be the remastering of the entire Deep Space Nine season, or would it be season 8 of Deep Space Nine? So what's your answer on that one?
I would prefer a remastered Deep Space Nine, personally. I understand the hunger for more stories and more Deep Space Nine stories. But I think that I would like to see Voyager and Deep Space Nine remastered and like be in HD. Like, I want them to be like everyone else. How is it 50-50?
This was so surprising to me that
wow. There's there's like no definitive.
There was it really is a Kobayashi Maru question because
no win.
There was no. It was a true no-win scenario. I wonder if
you voted for season 8. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was telling Humbert, it's like I always want more. But that's if I had to make the choice. I think we can have both, obviously, in real life. It was just a fun mind experiment.
I feel like a season 8 of Deep Space Nine isn't necessary, but I would like them to have like a send-off. Okay, I would like there to be an actual Star Trek trilogy, not like 2, 3, 4 was a trilogy, but an actual Star Trek trilogy that somehow connects in the same way Avengers Infinity War and Endgame did for like the MCU, that somehow connects all of these iterations of Star Trek that we've had over the years and kind of brings a lot of these arcs and all of these characters to like a finality and give us like an homage and an end to all of these characters.
The show that can do it is coming soon in December.
Well,
Star Trek Picard. I
it's
feel
not
like
doing
that
that.
would
It's
be.
doing its own thing.
I know it's not. I
But
know, but
I
I'm
feel
saying
like I
if
feel
there
like we
is
could
a
do this
show,
on the big screen, and we could have like a big thing where like we end all of these arcs for these characters, and like, yeah.
yeah, or I also think in some ways I'm like the individual endings. Well, obviously, I really loved if Star Trek: The Next Generation had ended in all good things and nothing ever came after, I would have been like pretty satisfied. Like, because I don't think Nemesis is a great send off. I agree with you in the sense that like TNG never got the proper like, okay, this is how it all ends or how it all
the original series got that movie. They got Star Trek 6, which
Star Trek 6, right?
The whole point of Star Trek 6 is basically just to say goodbye to them.
Say goodbye, yeah.
It's a
But
movie
you're right.
about saying goodbye. And to a similar point, In Game is the same thing. In Game, if you look at it like as a movie, it works. It's not a bad movie at all. The time travel is muddling and confusing, and sometimes you feel like it's a bit wacky, but it works as a send off and as a goodbye. And I think that in cinema, storytelling has always been pushed aside a little when it comes to saying goodbye. I mean, I think of Fast and Furious 7. We say goodbye to Paul Walker, the actor.
Right.
But the final scene in Fast and Furious 7 makes no sense whatsoever. Because it features a Paul Walker driving off into the sunset, but he should be just going back to his family at the beach. But from a story standpoint, it's stupid. But from an emotional standpoint, it works. It's goodbye to Paul Walker, the actor.
One last Star Trek outside of this episode question. It was leaked that the new Starfleet headquarters logo or something, and it has the kind of Discovery era split insignia. Are we sure that that's not from Discovery season 3?
I don't think. Okay. Are we sure?
Are we sure that's a legitimate
Picard
leak?
I don't know anymore. You're confusing me, sir.
Well,
okay, wait a minute.
If it was tied in directly to because they also show flags somewhere. There was flags that had that logo too. And all I can say is if it was tied in, if you saw Picard on the set and you saw these things there too, then I could say, okay, but they're just images that could easily be from Discovery's filmings.
It seems to me that when you zoom in into these set photos, they have it's the same logo.
But I haven't seen it. Oh, okay. I haven't seen a.
But then
the insignia has the split, is what you're saying. But it doesn't make sense because in Discovery itself, they already introduced a unified insignia with the Enterprise crew. So I don't know. I think these might be MacGuffins, or I think they're not from Picard. Just a gut feeling.
You think?
Just a gut feeling on that one.
I don't know. I feel like the logo didn't need to change. I feel like they could have just picked up the logo that they hadn't what was it, the last logo that we saw? Just use that one.
I mean, I expect changes. It's 20 years later, but I just don't think they would do the Discovery era, unless the writers and the producers are let's look at it. Let's piss off those. They're
look at it another way, right? You can look at it as when Discovery was the only current show. It had that split, and it was kind of inconsistent with all of the rest of Star Trek because it was the only one that had the split. But now it's no longer that inconsistent because it exists in Picard. And so it's kind of instead of looking at Picard as doing what Discovery did, look at it the other way. Look at it. Picard has this split, and it's because Discovery had that originally. It doesn't make. I'm trying to make sense of what I'm saying here.
What I think you're saying is that
the fact that both exist kind of legitimate,
in the Picard series, they're hearkening back to the Discovery era logo for whatever reason. It means something.
Yeah.
To the Federation or to Starfleet. When you do the split, When you do the split, it means something to Starfleet, and for whatever reason, that's happening again.
It establishes it more in the universe, like it makes it more believable to have.
I think that forget canon and all that stuff, but just to me, it just breaks with continuity. Because it just like it makes sense for Discovery to have it. I never had a problem with the split logo. It's like in that era, in TOS era, you have ships with like all kinds of insignias. You know what I mean? And then it made me even happier when the Enterprise crew has a solid insignia, like no split. Because I was like, oh yeah, that fits within continuity, right? By the TNG era, it's always the solid. From the films all the way to the end of TNG, it's always the solid insignia, with the exception of those alternate futures where you do have the split. Isn't it split?
It's not split.
No, it's still solid, but it has the two bars under it, right? So yeah, so to me it just doesn't fit with continuity. I get what you're saying, but like I don't think real life should ever bleed into the fake universe, right? Like the universe should make sense, not just, it shouldn't be like, oh, because we're trying to legitimize Discovery. Discovery doesn't need legitimization. It's okay. Discovery did the right thing by creating a unique logo. I don't have a problem with that. People always complain about that logo, but it's like there's really nothing to complain about. Now I kind of have a problem with it because I'm like, well, why does it have to be in the Picard era? And I also don't think those images are from Picard.
Maybe
until I see something more definitive. I haven't seen something linking it yet.
Yeah, I'm one to really, really, really want continuity. I want continuity and I want coherence, right? That's how I enjoy the universe. I like it when it makes sense, because when like everything makes sense, like visually, and it's continuity and coherence, to me it makes the universe more believable, and I can be I'm more attached to it. That being said, I've come to accept over the years that for whatever reason, every time there's a new movie, every time there's a new show, like they're gonna want to do it their own way. The uniforms change, the designs change, everything is always different, and sometimes it doesn't make sense continuity wise, and so I rely on my buddies over at Memory Alpha to make it work for me.
Or just our imaginations as fans in general. It's true. All right, cool. All right, I think we've gone way over our normal time limits, but I think there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. It's time now to rate Schisms. Schisms. And I have to say that I enjoyed the episode. Not one of my favorites. Sean's gonna be totally surprised that I'm not giving it a 10, but I'm not.
I was kind of expecting it to not be a 10. Come on.
Okay, good. I give today's. Excuse me for burping. Wow, that was rude. How dare you? Although in some cultures it's actually a compliment, but we weren't eating dinner together.
It's a compliment, so. Like eating dinner, but like this is just get off my bridge.
Control your bodily functions.
This is my bridge now. I'm the captain now.
Yeah. Oh, very good. By the way, in French it would be Picard, right?
Picard.
Jean-Luc. Okay, I give it a 7.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
I give it a 6.5. I give it a 7.
I also give it a 7.
Hey, we aligned. Well, I felt that when we were talking about it.
Why so much enthusiasm? Hey,
it's great. Usually, one of us has a way different opinion, so that was cool. 7s it is.
Yeah. Okay. 7. I give this 7 Picard dates out of 10.
Well, oh my god, that's gonna be a new thing.
Do you think he goes on about the Romulans at dinner?
I'm very close to proving that the Romulans are plotting
this one time in the neutral zone.
Yeah, the Amagosa diaspora. It is the in Soren and and Lursa and Beator trick they say that it's a Romulan attack, right? On the Armagosa star system. If I'm not mistaken, on the base, the Armagosa base. That's what it was.
Do they?
I think so. I think they were pretending it was a Romulan attack.
In Generations.
In Generations. So that whole Romulan thing, Picard's Romulan.
Do you think?
Oh,
Do you think
I knew it was the Romulan.
Do you think he
What's
blames
that?
them for the death of his family?
I do think that I'm glad they didn't go there. But I definitely blame there's an instance where I definitely blame the writers. I actually want to sign a petition to redo the death.
Oh my god.
You found my one thing, because I've never
Was it you or was it Nick? Someone told me that they didn't even they have a photo of his brother on his disc and it's not even the same actor.
It's not the same actors. It's not the same.
I am offended, sir.
It's so weird. It's such a weird thing that they did. It's like all these things, these questions.
So here's another question. Do you think it would be pertinent that you can't change the story, right? The story is what it is. You can't sign a petition to change the story. His family's dead. But would it be a thing that from now on all of the Blu-ray releases of that movie, that they CG the original actor into that frame instead of the other person?
I would totally do
it. Thing that you would accept.
I would accept it, but I would like it way better if they just cut the scene out completely.
He doesn't have the Christmas thing, Papa, that doesn't have any weight anymore.
It can still have weight. That was always the thing, that Picard chose his career over family, and that if he had it to do again, he would have had a family. And I think how freaking cool because Renee could have been a character in the Picard series as a ship's captain. Maybe he followed in the footsteps of his uncle and he's in Starfleet. So we don't get any of that payoff or that joy because Renee they just decide.
You think that's what Renee would have done?
Remember Renee was all he's like, just like you, he was looking up at the stars. And they even end an episode with Renee sitting under the same tree that Jean-Luc used to sit under, looking out at the sky.
No. That's not poignant enough. Renee needs to be working for Section 31 or something, and that has Picard all stirred up. Like, how could he do this?
It'd be better even better. Renee is a Romulan extremist and he blames his own uncle for the destruction of Romulus. And,
oh my god.
Right, he's like some kind of extremist, who's like, oh yes, it's totally the Federation's fault. Like the Federation needs to,
basically. Oh my god,
that would have been high drama right there. And poor Picard. Renee, I went back in time and saved you from a fire that killed you and your father.
Bullshit. Wow. Do you think Renee would have gotten along well with Jake Sisko?
Yeah,
they would have been good friends. Renee wouldn't have. Do you think he would have gotten along with Nog though? Nog's a peculiar person.
Yeah, I think he would have gotten along with Nog.
I love Nog. He evolves really well.
Yeah, he's a good. I forgot the whole thing in the documentary about how he lost his leg and everything. So that was really
spoilers. Come on.
Yeah, it's okay. Spoilers. Anyways, audience, thank you for staying with us till the end. This is the end, Sean.
This is the end.
This is the end. Sean is gonna do an exciting. He says he's very excited and happy. He's gonna do a video just about all the information that we're seeing about the Picard.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it a happy video because I get comments about how I'm grumpy and I need to eat a meal or drink coffee. Or, I need to.
You're getting comments like that?
Yeah, I'm getting comments. People are, people.
Don't they know you're a dad on the tube? Don't they know you're a dad on the tube, that you're not getting sleep and you're getting abducted by aliens at night?
It's because my most recent review was a negative review, but I mean, some episodes I like and some episodes I don't. That's just how it is. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily an angry person.
Well, I'm going to sign a petition for you to redo that review.
Oh my god, here we
As
go.
a positive review.
Positive review.
That's it. I'm gonna sign a petition. We're gonna get a million signatures. You have
a million signatures.
If I ever,
if you get 50 signatures, I would redo.
You'll redo. Oh. I mean, what is the website that everyone uses to do the petitions? What is
Change.org. We're not sponsored by Change.org. But yeah, I mean,
it's that easy. Yeah, I just have to get 50 signatures.
No one watched my review anyway, so you're not gonna get anyone wanting to sign a petition.
I'm gonna watch it today. After
you're gonna watch it today.
I'm gonna watch it. Yes.
Don't you dare be posting links to petitions in the comment section.
It might just you're handing me the ideas, sir. You're handing them to me. Anyways,
all right.
So audience, please go and check out Sean's reviews. Let him know if you want a petition for him to change his review. And then also we are looking forward to when you post when do you think that's going to drop? On Tuesday, the Picard stuff?
No, I'm going to try and drop that earlier. I want to drop the review.
Oh, hey
look, this is a big week. I want to drop the news as soon as possible, and maybe the review on Tuesday. I say these things, but then I can never, I'm not.
I hope we get the news today. I'm excited. That's very no pressure, bro.
Maybe not. I was away from being on the tube for a while because of you.
And you did 80 minutes of Starfleetboy that you could have been doing on your thing.
I know.
We really appreciate it. You get the thank yous
Next
all the time.
You have 2 guests, so I can just pretend I'm here and actually work on my video. And then now and then I'll just go,
I see how it works. We're trying to get Gary back on the show. His I'm in talks with him right now. His internet is just.
This seems so official.
I know.
This is huge.
And he also thinks that I don't like the vegetables, but I love it when he chops vegetables. So I have to clarify that with him. So, but I don't know what to do about his internet. That's the main thing. So we'll see what we can do.
Shit internet, is that the?
Yeah, and these live shows are dependent on on your internet connection, unfortunately. But we're trying to figure something out. Someone tipped me off to some software where there's a delay. It buffers on your it just works a little differently, and so that might work out for us in the future.
Okay.
Anyways, anything else to promote, Sean, before we go?
Star Trek Picard.
Yes.
And hey, Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty's coming back in November 2019 as well, and I love that show, and I'm happy to see it come back.
It's an odd thing to promote on a Star Trek-based show, but we'll take it.
It's science fiction.
I guess so. I've never seen
Mike McMahon, creative Lower Decks, works on Rick and Morty, so this connection.
Fair. That's good. The only thing we have to promote is we put out 2 new episodes of Drunk Space 9. I'm sorry for the delay, audience. Go check them out. The second one is especially funny, and then your episode's going to drop hopefully by the end of this weekend as well. So we'll have Sean's Drunk Space episode, which ends very interestingly. So we're looking forward to airing that. Anyways,
we were in the drunk space.
We were definitely in the drunk space. So live long and prosper, and we'll see
you all
next time.